25 kilometers west of Mysore. The topic for today is moonbound communication. We have a break almost every 5 minutes approximately, and at which time we can then take a new station, and also we'll be checking the propagation during the break. VU2TS, VU2TS, come in please.
Roger, VU2 Bravo Delta X-ray, VU2 Tango Sierra. And very good morning to all the stations on frequency. We have VU2 LBW on frequency today. What a surprise. Very good morning, Lucky. Good to hear you. Putting on a good signal there. Traveling by the ear at my end. So good to have you on the net this morning. And good morning to all the stations on frequency. You are tuned to 145.725 megahertz. The Repeater Society of Mysuru, VU2 Tango Romeo Echo. Welcome to Tech Talk held every Sunday morning between 7:15 and 1:45. And this is VU2 Tango Sierra. My name is Ganesh and the QTH is VU2TRE Hills. 19th of July 2020. Today we take a look at moonbound communications, the ultimate challenge to radio amateur. Commonly known as moonbound, it means Earth-Moon Earth or EME communications. The process involves using the moon as a passive reflector, beaming RF signals towards the moon to be reflected off the moon's surface back to Earth, far away from the transmitting station. Please note that we are not discussing how to set up a EME station. There is just an introduction to moonbound communications and whatever information I have on that. The moon is in the sky for 12 hours in the night. The full moon, I'm sorry. The full moon is in the sky for 12 hours. And if it is rising in my location, it must be setting somewhere else. So there are chances to make contacts halfway across the world if the moon can be used as a reflector of radio signals. An overhead moon can only result in contacts over short distances. But over 2 hours after the moon rise and 2 hours before the moon rise gives us the best angles for long haul QSOs. The moon mostly on the horizon. The full moonlight, we get to see the full disk of the moon, well, almost. We all know this is the result of the sunlight reflecting off the moon's surface. I said almost because regions close to the lunar limb, or the edge of the disk, are not facing towards the Earth, but away from us. So, this does not reflect the moonlight, sunlight. And this may constitute about 2% of the moon's surface area. This means we see 98% of the moon on a full moon day. Another thing to know is, the moon does not reflect all the sunlight it receives. It is like a mirror. It reflects only about 12% of the sunlight because of the grey rough surface of the moon. Good for us because if we reflected all the sunlight, then the moonlight will not be so cool and romantic a joy. Let me add some science here. The reflectivity of the surface is known as the albedo. Alpha Lima, Bravo Echo, Delta Oscar. And this is measured on a scale of 0 to 1, meaning if it is 0, then it does not reflect at all. And if it is 1, it means it reflects everything, all the light, like a mirror. On this scale, the moon's albedo is 0.12 or 12%, as I said earlier. Furthermore, it's only fair that we need to know a little more about the moon if we start dabbling in moonbound. The moon's orbit is elliptical. The point of the orbit closest to Earth is called perigee. The point of the orbit closest to the Earth is called perigee, while the point farthest from the Earth is known as apogee. Alpha Papa, Oscar, Golf Echo Echo. You must know that already, I'm sure. When closest, the moon is only 360,000 kilometers, that is 3,60,000 kilometers distant. And when it is farthest, it is 4,05,000 kilometers, 405,000 kilometers. The difference is 45,000 kilometers when the moon is near or far away. The diameter of the moon is about 3,475 kilometers. So, if the full moon occurs on the day of the perigee, we call it a supermoon. Because it's about 11% larger in size and correspondingly brighter compared to when it is the farthest push. And it's needless to mention, Super 1 is the best time to try moon bounce, HI. The way to promote your text for a report, please, Peter Tagos here.
Tango Sierra, VU2TS here. Good clear signal coming in 59 plus plus. Ganesh, let's see how the signal in Mysuru is. VU2MD to BDX, your report please.
Strong and clear, no issues. Continue, Ganesh.
Madhu, any other stations that would like to mark their presence? We already have 11 stations on our list.
So, one would imagine, since light is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, same as radio, the RF signals also would be reflected like light by the entire surface of the moon. But RF energy striking the moon surface shows very different reflecting properties. Mainly because of the frequency, of course, lower frequency than light. In fact, as early as 1950, it was discovered that radio waves are reflected well only from a small region of a few hundred kilometers across at the center of the visible disk of the moon and not the entire disk. The moon bounce is of an experimental nature and a challenge more than actual communications. It is of limited use because of several factors. On-board communications presents a number of technical and operating challenges, but for keen radio amateurs, this provides a real sense of achievement and enjoyment when a contact has been successfully made via the moon. Two-way conversations are inconvenient through EME because of the time lag. A radio wave takes roughly 3 seconds to travel from the Earth to the moon, and this lag time is quite a lot for two-way communications. Look at it this way. I call CQ. It takes 3 seconds to reach the moon and 3 seconds for the reflection to reach someone. So 6 seconds gone. Someone hears me. He responds to my call and this reaches me after 6 seconds. It is slower than slow scan television, I think. So many of you might say, knock my cup of tea and chai. As I mentioned earlier, the surface of the moon is not a good reflector of electromagnetic waves. The best reflection occurs only in the center. Therefore, advanced equipment is needed to successfully moon bounce, including a high power and high gain antenna. After the 180 degrees of the sky overhead, that is from horizon to horizon, the moon occupies only a half a degree, 0.5 degrees. It is like aiming at a tennis ball 1 kilometer away. And so the antenna used must be highly directional. Commonly used antennas are 15 element dual polarization Yagi with a gain of 22.5 dB or thereabout. There are 4 of them stacked. So dual polarization helps because, and the polarization changes because the long distance radio waves have to travel. Furthermore, because the moon's surface is irregular, the radioactive signals are distorted as they bounce off some lunar features such as craters or mountains, depending on the angle that you are aiming at the moon. Last but not least, the path loss. Due to the enormous distance involved, the signal loses energy as it travels. Whether it is light or RF waves, when transmitted, it tends to spread out in all directions. You can try a spotlight on a wall nearby and compare it with the same spot on a distant object. You will see how broad it becomes. As I said earlier, the moon is only half a degree wide in the sky, and so only a fraction of the transmitted signal reaches the moon and is returned. That is why very high gain antennas are needed in addition to high power. Remember, even the signal from very high gain antenna spreads out as it travels in space. As a rule of thumb, for VHF and UHF signals in free space, if the distance between the two stations is doubled, the path loss is 6 dB. But on the surface of the Earth, the path loss is higher. It goes up to 12 dB as the distance is doubled. Another becomes a significant factor. Yes, there is a lot of RF noise out there in space. There are numerous celestial objects, including stars, pulsars, and even planets in the solar system that emit RF throughout the radio spectrum. And efficient EME systems are very sensitive and will be able to detect this noise. The level of noise is not constant across the sky, and this means that sometimes the sky above the moon can be very noisy, and at other times it can be much quieter. Be aware that we can see an arm of the Milky Way galaxy running right through the sky from the southeast to the northwest. A band thickly populated with stars and stardust. And it is found that noise is normally very high when the moon is crossing this band in the sky 2 times a month, while waxing and while waning. Well, nowadays there are software available for moon bounds, and these are designed to indicate the moon's position, and it lets us choose the optimum times for moon bounce activity so we can avoid the noise. Ready to promote as the accident report, you can find out if anybody has joined us. So we do that.
Tangos here are to be here. Coming in loud and clear. Thanks a lot, Ganesh. Let's see if any other stations are there. Any stations that would like to mark the presence, please call VU2TRE.
November Oscar India. November Alpha. November Mike Zulu. November Alpha.
I got NOIHNA, and then there were 2 other stations, please. Can you come in again?
Juliet Lima Echo Bharat.
ALE Sham from, there was one more station.
NMZ from Bangalore Bharat.
NMZ, okay, any other stations, please? VU2EXO. EXO, good morning there, EXO. Your station?
Good morning, Bharat. VU3 Sierra Yankee Golf also listening. 5 and 9, holding up over.
Hi, Ji, sorry, very good morning to you. Okay, fine. Any other attendance we'll mark later. Ganesh, you may continue, please. VU2TS, VU2BDA.
Roger, thank you, Bharat. So, we were talking about the noise in the sky. In order to establish an EME station, you will need a transmitting location that has a clear view of the sky. That's number 1 requirement. Preferably in a location with no other man-made radio transmissions, like FM stations, or any other active ham with a linear amplifier in the vicinity, HI. Experts recommend using a sensitive narrowband receiver, a steerable antenna, and a transmitter that can produce at least 1500 watts of RF output. As always, there are amateurs who have made EME contact using low power and simple antenna systems. The point is, it is not repeatable, whereas the suggested high power and high gain antenna contacts are sure shot. Frequencies used for moon bounds are generally on the VHF and UHF bands. This allows antennas with sufficiently high gains to be used to overcome the path losses. Amateurs have tried even 6 meters moon bounds successfully. However, 144 MHz and 432 MHz or even 1296 MHz amateur bands are more popular for moon bound. Earlier on, only CW mode used to be popular for moon bounds experiments because CW was easy to copy even if the signal was weak and there is the noise on the band. But some very advanced stations going in for HSB2. These days it's a lot easier for moon bound using FT8 or GD65 mode. In fact, it's a coincidence that we have Lucky on frequency today, V2LBW. Because just a couple of weeks ago, Lucky V2LBW informed me that he was successful in bouncing signals off the moon on 2 meters on GD65 mode. And he recorded his own signals returning from the moon. So since he is on frequency after this over, we'll ask him to give us some information on what he did. Therefore, with time, patience and skill, moon bouncing is an achievable goal for amateurs. In spite of the disadvantages, moon bouncing remains very popular among V2TRE here.
Sierra to BDX. Yeah, thanks, Ganesh. I'll pass on to Lucky first. Let's get his experience, and then we can go around with the question then. VU2LBW, VU2BDX. Comment, please.
Roger, Bharat, VU2BDX, VU2TS Group, VU2LBW. Good morning, everybody. And Ganesh, thank you. That was very interesting, what we talked about. And yeah, the only thing I can say is moonbound is not as easy as accessing the Mysuru repeater. It's painfully slow, and of course, every little loss you have in your RX is going to hurt you. And yeah, the experiment I did was with my satellite setup. It's 12 element plus 12 plus 12 cross Yagi on VHF, and I try experiment to go 50 per 60 watts. And yes, I was able to see my reflections of see my signals being reflected off the moon on JD65, at least on a reflector mode, not pure JD65, but in the quantum mode. So haven't yet managed to make USOs, though I've heard a few JD65 USOs happening. Like Ganesh said, path loss is critical, and the RX is extremely important. You have even a poor connector on your RX path, you're probably not going to hear the guy who's transmitting. Yeah, JD65 P, the variant JD65 Bravo is usually used for moonbound, and there's a pretty active group all over the world. India, of course, is too rare for them. That's another point. Antenna-wise, yes, I think, like Ganesh was saying, you need to serious moonbound, you need to at least have an area of a 4 into 7 element or a 4 into 9 element. LBW, VU2BDS, do you copy me? Roger. Finish, please. Lucky, I think you got cut off because the repeater time not properly, so you'll have to repeat what you said at the end of your overlap.
Sorry, Ganesh. Not used to using the PDD. Not been on repeaters for many years now. Yeah, all I was saying was it's you need to have a decent antenna setup, like you were mentioning, Ganesh. An area of 4 into 7 or 4 into 9 elements is probably ideal, with good RX and preamp on the antenna is absolute must for the receive, Ganesh. VU2TS Group, VU2LBW.
VU2LBW, VU2TRE here. So nice to have you on frequency and get all that information there, additional information. And if you have any further information on moonbound, like you can already give us a break. Meanwhile, pass it back to Bharat. You can find out if there are any questions from other stations on frequency. V2 Bravo Delta X-ray, V2TRE.
Tango Sierra to BDX. Thank you very much there, Ganesh and Lucky. So we'll start with the round of questions now. First, I'll go in the sequence of check-ins, please. The first station was VU2MUD. Madhav, any questions, please?
Good morning, Ganesh. Good morning, everybody else on frequency. Good morning to Lucky. Good to hear Lucky also on this day. Yeah, because I also was about to advise, ask Lucky to share his experiences on that. I don't know if I missed it out, but what is the time lag between the TX and the RX, Ganesh? I'm sure that there will be a time lag. What is the usual time if we are able to hear our own signal, say if it's overhead, if we bounce it off the moon, what is the time lag between the TX and the RX, Ganesh? V2 Tango Sierra, V2 MUD.
Okay, fine, Madhu, it was covered, Madhu. I clearly mentioned it. In fact, one of the disadvantages of communications and chatting on moonbound will be speed because of the time lag. Takes 3 seconds for the signals to reach the moon and 3 more seconds to get back to the earth. So that's the time lag. 6 seconds for one over to reach the other person. You must have missed it somehow. We do Mike uniform Delta.
Yeah, QSL Ganesh, I had to step out of the shack for a couple of, for a minute or so. I think during that time I missed it out. Second part is there was a news sometime, I think last week or 10 days back, that some group is planning to set up a repeater on the moon itself, some satellite with a repeater facility to be used as a regular repeater, Ganesh. I'm not sure for the source. That will look it up and share it again there. With Tango Sierra, with everybody.
Okay, I don't have like specific information, but yes, I do heard. First of all, you would just proposed a little bit good idea and so forth, and somebody said, why not? So that's how it's going on. I think it's the US wants to find to do that. VDX, but if you can find out if anybody else has information on the repeat on the moon. We do VDX coming with.
VU2TS to VDX. Any other station would like to comment please about any repeater on the moon? Over.
This is VU2LBW. I think it's from the European Space Agency, and I think it's going to be a lunar lander which is landing with a transponder which hands can use, a repeater hands can use from the moon.
VW to VU2TS here. Thanks a lot there, Lucky. Thank you very much. Mother, have you got the answer, please?
QSL. I had read it on the net somewhere, but I forgot to note who had made that. Thank you, Lucky.
VTMED to VDX. Any more questions, please?
Yes. Can I number here?
VTMED to VDX. Any more questions, please?
VU3 Bravo Oscar Papa. VU3 Bravo Oscar Papa.
No questions from my end, Bharat. You can continue.
Heard any other questions? Not heard anything from him. There's one more station trying to check in, I think, a November call sign. Can you come in again, please?
Bharat, this is leading Gulf number.
Okay, anyway, the next is your turn. VU3GW and Guru Bird.
Yeah, just wanted to check what is the power that we need to use to even bounce a signal, minimum power. Can we do it with a handy and a Yagi antenna? Yes.
So on that, Ganesh, did you get the question, please? VU2TS to VDX.
Thanks, Bharat. Yeah, I got the question from Guru Prasad. No, it's not possible with a handy and Yagi, we can forget that. As I say, it's about 400,000 kilometers, you know. So your signal doesn't reach that far with the handy, even if you use the best antenna. The handy power will not do. In fact, for comfortable regular QA source, I suggested 1,500 watts. And it's a 32 dB antenna, so we can imagine what will be the effective radiated power. It is quite a high power. But sometimes, very rarely, even low power like 100 watts or maybe 200 watts might do to bounce the signal off and, you know, even have a communication. So there you are. Handy will not do Guru Prasad. VU2GW and VU2TS. That's all, Ganesh. Thank you very much for that information.
Back station comment, please.
Just a question for Ganesh. This is my kind of, you know. Is there a dedicated frequency? Is there a dedicated frequency for moon bouncer? We'll pass it a bit of you. Lucky please. That's a VU2TS to yes, all the moon bouncers are usually around 144, 125, thereabouts. Between 144.090 and 144.160. That's where you the activity finish one.
LBW group on the side. Sorry, I said, yeah, LBW and group on the side. VU2TS. Okay, thanks there. The next station is VU2SPK. Shankar, any questions, please? Roger on that. The next station is Sarah, VU2TS. Any questions, please? VU2 Echo Tango Sierra. Any questions, please? No, nothing heard. The next station is VU3SRE. Any questions, please?
Good morning, Bharat, Ganesh, Madhu, Shyam, and all friends and friends. No questions, Bharat. Thanks a lot to Ganesh, you for the good discussion topic on the subject, Bharat. So, currently, please standing by. We will do proud and time today we can forever.
Thank you very much, Vasan. The next station is VU2EPZ. Harsha, come in, please.
Yeah, Bharat, I have two questions. I'll put it in a row. First is, for moonbound, what is the actual physical damage of the surface when we are using to bounce the signal? Whether it's a 10 feet, 5 feet, 100 feet or something like that. I just got second question is, can we use the geostationary satellite standing over the earth as a bouncer of the reflectors? This is a question for Ganesh. VU2TS, VU2TS, over.
Sir, good morning, Harsha. Very good morning to you. I did mention in the talk that the entire surface of the moon does not reflect all the waves, radio waves that is. It reflects light waves, but not the radio waves. So there's an area at the center, not exactly measured, like roughly a few hundred kilometers across, which reflects it very well. The other portions also reflect, but not as well as the center. So we need to concentrate on bouncing the signal off the center of the moon. Okay, I hope you got that okay. And regarding the second question, no, we won't be able to bounce signals off the geostationary satellites, mainly because they're too small. We're looking at something which is about, say 2 meters wide, roughly. I'm talking about satellite is about 2 meters wide, and that is 6,000 kilometers away. So it's like trying to hit a ping pong ball from one light year away. V2 Echo Power Zulu, we see it.
Roger, Ganesh, thanks for that. I'll stand by for the others to come.
VU2TS. Thanks, Harsha. MTK, Kesari, you already asked one question. Do you have any more, please?
None, Bharat, go ahead.
Station is VU2TW. Satya, come in, please.
Yeah, good morning to all. Very interesting and very informative subject. Thanks to TS. No, nothing for us. I'll just sign off. I'll hear of the TTW.
TTW to VX here. Thanks a lot there, Satya. Next station is VU2DE and Delta Economy member Gopal. Come in, please.
Ian, very good morning to you, Bharat. Yes, very, very beautiful subject. But from my end, I would like to ask Ganesh, what kind of an antenna? I am interested in manufacturing antenna so that it will be easier for the amateur radio operators to catch hold of the moon, as Ganesh puts it. It's a very, very interesting topic. I'm interested in making a good antenna for it, so it will be easy. And also Lucky, nice to hear Lucky after a long, long time. Very good morning to you, Lucky. PDX Group DN.
DN, VU2BDX. Yeah. Ganesh, was that a CSL on the question, please? VU2TS, VU2BDX.
Well, yeah, I got the question. Very good morning to Gopal. Good to hear you. Good signals as maintained by the ear on my end. And okay, about the antenna, I didn't mention that in the talk. They normally use 15 elements. Okay, 4 of them stacked. That's what you need to make Gopal. 4 antennas stacked one over the other. 15 elements each, or maybe 12 elements, or even 9 elements. Minimum will be something like 9 elements. And so you can think
think about that. If you need, I can send you details. I can send you links for the construction of the antennas. All available on the internet. I can send you the link. And we'll see if Lucky has to add anything for that. VW coming. VW? Yes. Guys, picked up the wrong microphone. We're taking out VW. Good morning, Gopal, Madhu, and everybody else. And I think it's a very different world, Gopal. It's like Ganesh said, multiple Yagis stacked. And there's something called a hedge frame, hotel frame, which typically people use. So that's something you can most of us with, I guess, which is usually connected to the elevation azimuth rotator, and the Yagis are populate on the hedge frame. So we can take that offline and I can tell you what it's all about. But antenna design, yes, like Ganesh said, there are a lot of good designs from proven EAB users. I think TK3, I think it's 7 Bravo, not sure what it's called, but you've got a fantastic page with a huge number of antenna designs for Earth Moon. We do a VDX group, VW. This is VW, VDX here. Thanks, Lucky. So was your question answered, Gopal, V2D and V2DX? Yes, V2DX. QSL, thanks a lot, Lucky, and Ganesh also. Yeah, we will go through that. As you said, we'll go through that. Yeah, but I think so we need a lot of space to erect the antenna, as Lucky puts it. It's a hedge thing which requires a special azimuth elevation rotator. So that is it. Anyway, thanks a lot for all the good information. We will catch up with Ganesh, no problem. PDX and the group V2D and standing by.
CN to PDX here. Thanks a lot, Gopal. Thank you very much for participating today. The next station is VU2TS Suresh. Any questions, please?
PDX with Repeater. Now, beautiful topic here. First of all, was Ganesh. Thank you, Ganesh, for enlightening all this, and very interesting subject here. And nothing else, I'll stand by. Morning to you, Ganesh, Gopal, and Nakira. To PDX is here now.
Akbar. Check back station, come in, please.
Thanks be to Tango Sierra. Well, for all the others who may be interested in finding more about the antennas and the system, there's a page, it's Moon Bounce at W2PU, Whiskey number 2, Papa Uniform. He's one of the old timers there, he's expert, and he's doing a lot of work at moon bouncing. So once again I repeat, Moon Bounce at Whiskey 2, Papa Uniform. Will give you lots of information. I hope others who may know. V2 Bravo Delta X-Ray.
The Tango Sierra, VU2TS. Thanks a lot there, Ganesh. Thank you very much. And okay, I'll take that slide from you later because I was also trying to monitor something else here right now. Okay, the next station is VU2HNA, Apana from Bangalore. Come in, please.
Good morning, first morning, Ganesh. There's good copy here, perhaps. Yes, brighter morning than last few days with the trading restrictions outside, and interesting subject, nice talk. Thanks, Ganesh. Otherwise, don't know the traffic, perhaps. You have a nice day, 73s, and bye-bye. V2PDX, V2 Hotel November also.
HNA to PDX. Thanks, Apna, for participating today. The next station is VU2JLE Sham from Wayanad. Come in, please. VU2JLE, VU2PDX. Do you copy me? Oh, I think it's by the next station is November Mike Zulu, Naren from Bangalore. Come in, please.
VU2PDX and the group, VU2NMZ. Very good morning to you, Bharat.
topic, Ganesh. Good to know about echo mic, communication. I joined a little late, but what do I gathered by testing? I'm just a beginner. So I'll continue to be in the listening mode. Back to you, VU2PDX and the group distribute NMZ. So NMZ, VU2PDX, yeah. Thanks a lot there, Naren, for participating, and do be a regular on our mic for Repeater 7:15 every morning. The next station is VU2EXO from Bangalore. Comment, please. Yeah, VU2PDX, VDX. I have one question. So it is a little theory, but I'm not sure whether how it is exactly. But it was told that the distance to the moon is about 4 lakh kilometers. But I just have a question: is our radio wave, which is having a speed of almost 3 lakh kilometers per second. So it takes almost about 1.25 to 1.3 seconds to reach, and where the rest of time goes, is it in the processing in the rigs and the transmission line and like that, or how exactly? This is a question about this 1.75 seconds where exactly loads. QSL, VU2PDX, VDX. CXO to PDX, yeah. QSL on the question there. Ganesh, did you copy the question, please? VU2TS to PDX.
Copy that. I think the signal takes, I'll give an exact time. I don't want you to talk to 3 seconds, okay? There was no point in putting a decimal there and giving you 4 decimal place for this talk. So I just want you to talk to 3 seconds. But in just a while, I'll give the correct time there. You can go ahead, but I'll call you back.
Yes, to PDX, yeah. Roger on that there, Ganesh. The next station is Salim, UCSYG from Calicut. Comment, please.
Cheers, away to PDX with the group. This is Tracy and also good morning all round, Bharat. And we are lucky to have Lucky in this tech talk today about moon bouncing. I had one question based on practical terms. How far any moon bouncing station from India, say from Mysuru, can hit a station across the globe? How far? And what could be the kind of what one gets for his signals, just to know on a practical terms. The other question was exactly the question raised by EXO regarding the time lag in the Earth bouncing communication. According to that calculation he raised, Bharat. Is there a QSL BDX through SYG?
CSYG to PDX, yeah. QSL around that QSL. Let's see if Ganesh, VU2TS to PDX, did you copy the question, please?
Yes, I copy the question. And actually, it is 500 seconds. And to the sun is 8 minutes. 500 seconds. And to the moon, he was right, I think half an hour, right? 1.1 seconds. So instead of giving 2 seconds as a uplink signal, I gave the total number as 3 seconds. The total time cycle will be 3 seconds. Up and down will be 3 seconds. Rounded off. So that's okay. Sorry for the goof up there. Thank you, Apana, for this information. And VU2LBW can answer the VU2SYG's question then. Over.
Ganesh, VU2TS group VU2 Repeater morning, and in terms of what you can do with moon bounce, like Ganesh is saying, the coverage is half the earth. So depends on where your location is with respect to the moon and the other station. So typically you should be able to, if you have your edge of the coverage area of the moon, you can cover everybody on the west, right up to the Americas, and east, of course, right across the Pacific. Signal strength wise, since everybody uses JD65 nowadays, I can give you some idea of what it is. It also depends on the bar, depends on the antenna, of course, location. But sometimes minus 20 dB. So those are the level signals you can actually hear off the moon. VU2 group VW. VW to VDX here. Thanks, they're lucky. Salim, is that a QSL, please? VU2TS, VU2TS.
QSL, lucky when you say minus 10 dB, minus 20 dB on the receiving signal, how will you translate to our normal signal reporting system like 5 and 9 kind of in terms of readability and the strength by the ear, audio-wise, QSL?
Since we do BDX group VW, we say SIG, I guess you know. The digital signal is usually a measure in minus dB, in decibel level. You really can't translate it back into an S signal level. And by the ear, of course, most of the time you don't hear the signal. You only see it on the screen. So maybe somebody else who has an idea of how to convert, the dB level into singing strength level can answer that. But then typically you don't represent digital transmission in S signals on the band.
Okay, thank you for that. So now, in fact, I was now talking about FM voice transmission, telephonic, QSL.
VW to VDX, I think your clarification that you wanted to know about the voice signals. Do you have any comments, please, to add the VU2 to VDX? Okay, Roger. V to VDX to VW. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a problem here with my rig, but people don't use FM at all for moonbound. FM is never used. It is usually like VW recipe or now the new digital module. Yes, IG, is that a QSL, please?
Okay, that's a QSL pilot. That was absolutely new information for me. Thank you very much for the information, Lucky and Ganesh. BDX group SYG, listening.
SYG to BDX. Thanks a lot there, Salim. And the last station that I checked there was VOP Bopanna from Bangalore. Comments, please. VOP, are you on frequency? Oh, nothing heard. Any other station on frequency that would like to ask any questions, please? The station trying to come in, you're just about able to trigger the repeater but not able to hold it, and definitely no audio heard. Can you try again with a slightly higher power, please?
Golf from your mic.
Here in Ram, is it, from Bangalore? Is that a PSL, Madhu?
Raja, go ahead, Ram.
Better signals there. Like Sopolini, nothing to report. Has been enjoying the event this morning there. Thank you, Madhu. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, Ganesh. And also, bye-bye, all.
QSL Ram, was there any query or just a general check-in, Ram?
General check-in.
Okay, QSL Bharat, he says he's been able to listen and is not able to access the repeater, and he has no questions. It's just a general attendance saying that he's listening on frequency. Bharat, we to BDX, we to MUI.
MUI to BDX. Thanks a lot, Madhu, for relaying the messages, and to GRM also, Ram. Thanks a lot for checking in, and hopefully next month it will be better. Maybe checking in daily on the Mysore repeater will help your setup will get used to the Mysore repeater and improve its performance. Then HI on that, Okay, the time is now 1 minute past 8. We've had 19 stations participate in today's technical talk. me. And with this, we come to the end of our session. Thank you all very much for participating. 33 to all of you. All have a great day ahead. And we'll be having our Chamundi next at 7:15 every weekday morning and on Saturday morning. And the weekly tech talk, of course, next Sunday on at the same time. 33, bye-bye. All have a great day. This is VU2TRE signing clear, opening the repeater for general traffic and standing by for a couple of minutes.